No, he's so sweet. Welcome to the East Side.
The pig is being non-compliant.
Oh, they know how to have a good time there in Washington State, don't they? It was an unusual suspect on the loose. Police in Tacoma chasing down an escaped pig. Officers finally managing to bring home the bacon. They caught the pig, who's now hunkering down at a local ranch.
They didn't have that one on their bingo card. All right, a blockbuster revelation as the recount is set to get underway in the Pennsylvania Senate race. I can't believe this is still going on, but it is. The New York Times now confirming what Fox Digital has been reporting all along, namely that some officials in blue counties are now openly admitting to counting disqualified ballots in defiance of the state Supreme Court. How is this happening? Alexis McAdams here with us now. Hi, Alexis.
Hi, yeah, as you said, people thought it was over, but not everyone thinks the Senate race is over in Pennsylvania. And that includes some Democrats on some election boards who admit they're breaking the law to overturn the results here, okay? So this comes days after the race was called for Republican Senator-elect Dave McCormick after he beat out incumbent Democratic Senator Bob Casey. But Casey will still not concede. So now, this week, the race is heading for a recount, and it's going to cost taxpayers $1 million. Some blue counties say they're now counting ballots that do not have these things, okay? The required signatures or dates, which is against the law, and that's according to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that ruled that months ago. Now the RNC and McCormick's teams are suing at least 4 Pennsylvania counties.
The Supreme Court in Pennsylvania, which is, by the way, controlled by Democrats, has laid out what the law is. We're just asking these counties to follow it. And unfortunately, 2 and possibly more counties have decided they aren't going to do that.
So Senate Majority Leader-elect John Thune of South Dakota is calling on Casey to concede. As Democratic Senator John Fetterman said over the weekend, he thinks his counterpart will do the right thing when the votes are counted. But Democrats say throwing out these votes because of a clerical order violates Second Amendment rights.
Not going to second that, mostly because I think we all know that precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country, and people violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention to it. And there is nothing more important than counting votes.
Choose which laws you want to violate there, I guess is what she's saying. McCormick's team says it's business as usual right now for him. He's going forward with orientation and making new hires. He's excited for his time in Washington, D.C., but I think they just want this to wrap up because they say they have the votes.
Well, and also I was reading Selena Zito, who's been on our program. She covers all this very closely. She knows Bob Casey well. She said this is a terrible way for people to remember you.
That's right.
By going forward this way. So keep at it and let us know so we can figure out if this
figure out when it wraps up.
End. Exactly. Thanks,
Yeah.
Alexis.
Thank
Great
you.
to have you.
Thank you.
And a growing team heading for the White House, getting ready to reset national priorities, and that includes pulling the plug on Democrat policies and a woke agenda as they see it. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino. Bill is off today, and John, we got one more hour to go.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
I always love being with you. I'm John Roberts. The Trump transition team moving full tilt to fill out the new administration. And to find Democrats are digging in, dead set on resistance. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson leaving the door open to recess appointments to speed things up if Democrats stand in the way. Trump advisor Corey Lewandowski with a reminder for the opposition party.
Democrats refuse to admit is that Donald Trump is coming back to Washington, D.C. with a mandate from the American people and is entitled to have his cabinet around him that he chooses. Donald Trump's mandate also allowed him to make the U.S. Senate a Republican majority. So as these U.S. senators consider the president's nominees, they should remember why they're in the majority.
Fox team coverage to that program on Capitol Hill. But first, Madeline Rivera, she is at the White House. Looks like a pretty day down there. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, good morning, Dana. Well, some of President-elect Trump's nominees have indicated they'll try to move quickly to reverse the Biden administration's DEI policies. Just this morning, the man Trump chose to head the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, posted this on X. When it comes to the FCC's promotion of DEI, I have just one thing to say, afuera. Afuera meaning outside in Spanish. The FCC had listed promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion as its second strategic goal in its budget request for fiscal year 2024. 2025. Now that they've got a trifecta in Washington, Trump and Republicans have the ability to overhaul federal agencies. And per Axios, the GOP is setting its sights specifically on the Justice Department, Department of Education, and the Pentagon. Defense Secretary nominee and former Fox News host Pete Hegseth could implement sweeping changes within the military if he's confirmed. Hegseth, though, has faced criticism like this one from last week.
This is someone who, is known to be a white supremacist, known to be an extremist, whose platform, whose book is basically about his opposition to the advancement of black officers to the top brass.
First Lady Jill Biden's former press secretary Michael LaRosa is slamming the characterization, saying this on X. Opposing DEI initiatives does not make you a white supremacist. Voices like this on the left are turning the Democratic Party into a joke, name-calling, vilifying, and defaming nominees you choose, or you oppose, rather, even if there is very good reason to oppose them, represents everything the Democratic Party should be running away from. LaRosa suggests fighting back with strategy and tactics instead of resorting to defamatory and juvenile language. Dana.
And Maddie, you joined the club of whenever there's a hit for our show from the White House, there is some sort of landscaping equipment that starts up. Thanks so much. Great to have you.
No, you got it, of course.
John?
Dana, you used to work there. You know what it's like. You got to trim the verge every day. Senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram live now on Capitol Hill with more on President-elect Trump's quest to quickly confirm his cabinet picks. Chad?
John, good morning. We're expecting an intense period in early January. Senators will prep as many Trump administration nominees as possible for confirmation right after the inauguration. The GOP cannot move until it controls the Senate.
To session, we can get started right away with the hearings themselves because we can't do anything to actually approve them in the Senate until the new administration takes place, until the new president is sworn in. But we can get all of that out of the way in that 2-week period of time.
There will be some paperwork and then vote shortly after the inauguration on a host of nominees. Republicans want the new president to hit the ground running. That said, bipartisan senators insist on full vetting for nominees. That includes background checks.
It would be a mistake in most cases to curtail the investigative process and the public hearings, because that is the Senate's constitutional responsibility.
There is still a lot of chatter about using recess appointments to advance nominations if they get bogged down. Both the House and Senate must be out for 10 days to execute that maneuver. Recess appointments bypass the usual confirmation process. Democrats and many Republicans are wary of recess appointments.
I certainly hope that's the case and that we won't see nominees jammed through in recess appointments where there's no confirmation hearing, no confirmation vote, and they take over incredibly powerful positions for up to 2 years.
Now, Democratic California Senator Alex Padilla says Democrats will do, quote, whatever it takes to block some picks of the new president. Mr. Trump is watching to see which Republicans balk at his nominees. John?
All right, Chad Pergram with the latest on recess appointments for us from Capitol Hill. Chad, thank you. Dana?
And for more on this, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton is the incoming Republican conference chairman. And I've got, first of all, congratulations to you on that. There are 3 topics, and no one better to do all 3 in the time that we have. Here is Speaker Johnson on Fox News Sunday about recess appointments. Watch.
I wish the Senate would simply do its job of advice and consent and allow the president to put the persons in his cabinet of his choosing. But if this thing bogs down, it would be a great detriment to the country. I am very hopeful that the Senate will do its job, and that is provide its advice and consent and move these nominees along. They have an obligation to do a vetting of every nominee, and they will.
I've been wondering, with the numbers that the Republicans will have in the Senate, why does everyone have to talk about recess appointments when it should be pretty easy to get everybody confirmed?
Well, that's exactly right, Dana. Once again, the left doesn't seem to have learned anything from the campaign or really the last 8 years, hyperventilating about a supposedly anti-constitutional practice, which is in the Constitution itself. And recess appointments go back to the beginning of our republic. But I don't foresee a need for recess appointments because I expect the Senate to work promptly and efficiently to process all of these nominations and to put Donald Trump's cabinet in place. The new Senate will be sworn in on January 3rd. That's 17 days before the president is inaugurated on January 20th. We can have many of the confirmation hearings in that 17-day period. And then on January 20th, shortly after the president gives his inaugural address, he'll sign the formal papers to nominate all of these people to the cabinet positions. And then the Senate should start working promptly to process those nominees. I can tell you, Dana, you don't want to see my dance moves at an inaugural ball, and you don't want to see many other senators' dance moves. We should be working that day to get those nominees confirmed. And that's what we should keep doing in the days ahead after the president's inaugurated.
It's always freezing on Inauguration Day anyway. All right. I know that you support Senator John Thune, the new majority leader for the Republicans, in his push to deal with the ICC, the International Criminal Court, who wants to go after Israelis. He said this: if the ICC and its prosecutor do not reverse their outrageous and unlawful actions to pursue arrest warrants against Israeli officials, the Senate should immediately pass sanctions legislation, as the House has done on a bipartisan basis. He goes on a little bit, but let me get your take on this. Why is it important? Should it be done right away?
Yeah, Dana, absolutely. It's not just Senator Thune and I, but I think probably all Republicans and a lot of Democrats, too. As you said, the House passed this bill months ago with more than 40 Democratic votes because the International Criminal Court is targeting Israeli officials, to include Prime Minister Netanyahu, for supposed war crimes when Israel is the victim of war crimes. This bill that I helped draft is based on an executive order that President Trump issued in his term. And again, it passed in a large bipartisan vote. Chuck Schumer could bring it up anytime. He could bring it up this week. Much better use of time than, say, confirming the head of the Office of Government Ethics, which we spent several hours on last week, because this court, which is acting in a rogue fashion, could issue these arrest warrants at any time. We shouldn't allow that to go forward without severe consequences against this kangaroo court and its rogue leader.
And there's also this. We just did a story with Alexis McAdams at the end of the last hour about Dave McCormick. He's the Republican Senate candidate in Pennsylvania. The race has been called for him. But Bob Casey continues to push forward, and there seems to be some sort of craziness and possible illegal activity. This is the Pennsylvania county official after Democrats rejected a GOP-led challenge. It said, "I think we all know that precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country. If I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention. There's nothing more important than counting votes." What is happening in Pennsylvania, and what can the Republicans do to bring this to a successful close for the party?
Well, Dana, it's crazy. Once again, Democrats doing exactly what they always accused Donald Trump of doing, defying a court order. He never did that in his first term. Now you have the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ordering county officials not to count certain improper or incomplete ballots, and Democratic officials are simply saying, we're going to disregard the Supreme Court order and we're going to count these ballots. The Department of Justice should investigate these Democrats immediately. If Joe Biden's Department of Justice won't do it because they focus more on things like getting illegals to vote in Virginia, then I bet the Trump Department of Justice will investigate it. You cannot allow partisan election officials to defy a court order. The time has come to bring this race to a close and allow Senator-elect Dave McCormick to get on with the business of representing the people of Pennsylvania.
Tom Cotton, keep us posted on that. Appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, Dana.
Let's get you back down to Athens, Georgia. The prosecution is calling new witnesses in the Laken Riley murder trial, what they are revealing on the stand.
Plus, a Chicago City Council meeting turning heated as people